Morning, everyone. Get this meeting called to order. My name is Scott Corbett, Chair of the Ohio Rail Development Commission, and I'll call the meeting to order now. We have project partners and members of the public participating online using GoToMeeting. I'd like to thank Mike Fitch from ODOT's Local Technical Assistance Program, who's assisting us today with GoToMeeting. Mike, would you please give everyone online an overview of what to expect?
Thank you, Chairman Corbett, and good morning, everyone. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and all comments are a matter of public record. As you already know, all attendees in the GoToWebinar platform are muted, but will have an opportunity to speak following the presentations. Please refer to the GoToWebinar panel on the right side of your computer screen. You're most likely listening to us using your computer speaker system by default. If you experience any audio issues and would like to join by phone instead, please click on the arrow symbol next to the word audio to expand the audio section and select phone call. The dial-in information will then be displayed. You are welcome to submit questions at any time by typing them into the questions box of the GoToWebinar panel. After the presentations have concluded, there will be time for public comments and discussion. You may proceed by using the questions box, or you may click on the hand icon to raise your hand. Each person will be unmuted when it's their turn to speak. If you are joining by phone only or would like to provide input following the meeting, please email your questions or comments to Wendy Jordan at wendy.jordan@dot.ohio.gov. With that, we will turn things back to Chairman Corbett. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that rundown. Megan, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Beal, Commissioner Durger-Robert, Commissioner Ryan.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson.
Present.
Commissioner Lampy.
Here.
Commissioner Lozier.
Here.
Commissioner Wood.
Here.
Commissioner Richter.
Here.
Commissioner Litter.
Present.
Chairman Corbett.
Present.
Representative Hoop. Representative Sheets.
Here.
Senator Reineke. Senator Sykes. Mr. Chairman, we have 8 voting members present, so we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Megan. Do we have a motion to approve the July meeting minutes? So moved. Have a motion and a second? With a second? Megan, would you please take the roll?
Commissioner Beal. Commissioner Durger-Robert. Commissioner Ryan.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Lampy.
Yes.
Commissioner Lozier.
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Commissioner Richter.
Yes.
Commissioner Litter.
Yes.
Chairman Corbett.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, we have 8 affirmative votes.
Thank you, Megan. We'll now move on to staff reports. Matt, would you please give your director's report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, my staff report begins on page 9. In short, there's a lot going on right now. So I just want to hit some of the highlights. Right now, we are in the midst of our budget preparations. This process that the Office of Budget Management, the Office of Budget and Management, OBM, has issued its guidance to our state agencies. It's different in previous years, so they're implementing a results-focused budgeting process for executive branch agencies. So I think this actually dovetails nicely to what was some of the discussions in our policy committee. But as we're putting this together with the support of ODOT, we are focusing on the rail infrastructure needs for economic development and safety. We're focusing on the impacts of inflation on rail projects and infrastructure projects, and the opportunities and challenges of accessing the federal discretionary grant funding for rail infrastructure projects in Ohio. As we talked about in the policy committee, when we're looking at how we do things, obviously safety has its own measures with grade crossing safety. But for the infrastructure projects, we're talking about leveraging public and private funding, jobs created, carloads generated on lines that need it, and overall investment. And so this process has given us the opportunity, and we're working together. Megan is leading that effort with us, and with Commissioner Wood and his role as Assistant Director has been that's been very, very helpful as we're putting these things together. So that will be submitted sometime by the end of October. Yes. So we're working on that. One note I wanted to ODOT received a raise grant. It was actually ODOT District 3, so I wanted to point out it got a lot of press. It was up in, Secretary Buttigieg was up in Sandusky. We got to participate because we had a small but I consider important role, and it showed kind of how we work together on projects to be a little bit creative. If you'll bear with me. Part of that project it's looking at State Route 6 and making a lot of infrastructure improvements with active transportation, bike trails, things like that, and roadway safety realignment. What is part of that project is a grade crossing called Perkins Avenue. We have been at Perkins Avenue a lot. It is the #2 grade crossing in the state right now in hazard ranking. We have looked at this with the local authorities, with ODOT, with the railroads. We've done several diagnostic reviews, and there really wasn't a good railroad solution to make this a safer crossing. This project came up, and it gave the opportunity as part of this project, they're going to realign State Route 6, they're going to put a roundabout in, and it's going to actually pull the state route away from the grade crossing, so there's no queuing. It's very terrible sight distances. The rail line and State Route 6 are literally right next to each other. So people were turning into the train, people were queuing on the tracks. NS has actually come to us proactively multiple times asking us if we can do more at that crossing. As a result of this project, we were able to contribute $750,000 to our grade crossing safety program toward the roundabout project, which helped them in their application not only show kind of the multimodal aspect of the project, but also the financial contribution obviously helped in putting together the overall sources and uses of the project. So, and I want to, this is really at a staff level that really brought this to my attention and kept it on my radar. So, kudos to Alan and his staff, Heather Hamilton specifically, for really, making sure that we were engaged and made sure that we realized what an opportunity this was. So I just want to point that out. This is one of those examples where we really worked collaboratively with ODOT. We're also doing other things. We're working with the railroad specifically, and some of the part of the project is trails, and so we're working with the railroad outside of the grant to make sure the surfaces can accommodate the surfaces needed. So I just wanted to mention that. Grade crossing elimination program. There's a couple of resolutions on the agenda, so I won't take a lot of time to discuss it in my meeting. But we are working collaboratively on a Fostoria grade application that is Fostoria Economic Development Corporation, CSX, Norfolk Southern, ODOT District 2, as well as our consultants, Mead, Hunt, and Cambridge Systematics. The city has passed necessary resolution to close the crossings on Columbus Avenue for the grade separation, so we will be able to contribute grade crossing safety funds to that. Norfolk Southern and CSX are also contributing significantly to the project. If all works as planned, Megan is working with financing with our state and federal monies right now. We should be able to come up with the 20% local match without actually having any local money in the project. It should all be railroad money and our grade crossing safety money for the application. That's our goal. And then finally, because one grant opportunity isn't enough, at the same time, we are working on the Chrissy grant notifications. Right now we have 3 projects in the pipeline: a planning grant for the city of Cincinnati, which is number 2, I believe they announced at a national meeting, where number 2 priority on their network. We are working with the NDNW and also with RJ Corman on potential grants. So we're looking at 3 submissions. The commission, that due date is in December, so at the November meeting, those that get fleshed out, that will have a resolution of support for the commission at the November meeting. And with that, there's plenty of other things in there, but with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll just turn it over for questions.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions from members of the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just real quickly, I can't find it right now, Matt, but I thought I read that we missed out on some federal grants because of lack of matching funds.
Not yet. We're so far, I think we're probably at capacity, so if we might have capacity for one more smaller Chrissy grant project, but if we don't, then we'll have to deny more communities. We did reject, for lack of funding, several projects for our state rehabilitation assistance last round. About $4.6 million, I believe.
Again, I don't
kind of lost track of when the next budget is. We're probably about in the middle of this layer.
Correct.
So, you know, get good documentation of what we're missing out on, how much we're leveraging for the next go around. That would probably be helpful for the next budget cycle. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Lozier, that's exactly what Megan is, that she's leading that effort right now. You know, using the maps that we've created, the leveraging that we have, the job creation, and all those metrics we had just been talking about.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, ma'am, appreciate that. Move on to the finance report. Megan, would you please provide that?
Mr. Chairman, my report begins on page 12 of today's meeting packet. Relatively early in the fiscal year, so spending on both the operating side and the project side is as we would expect at this point in the year. We're down to 4 loans now that are in repayment. We've had 2 since the last commission meeting that have been fully repaid. The Bucyrus Industrial Railroad decided to pay off their $400,000 loan early. So that has been completed. And then the Ashland Railway's loan for their trail bridge rehabilitation project from 2016 has also been fully repaid. Pretty substantial project for the railroad. The bridge at that time carried about 60% of their traffic and connects their 2 Class 1 interchanges. So really important and substantial project that we were able to support there. I also just wanted to mention that the draft meeting schedule for next calendar year is included in the meeting packet. So if you would please have a look at that and let us know if you have any conflicts. We did go back to a Thursday meeting schedule to avoid some conflicts that we've been having on Wednesdays. So if you could take note of that and let either Wendy or me know if you have any concerns, appreciate it. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Megan. Any questions from members of the commission? Hearing none, thank you. Projects for approval. We're going to move on to that part of our agenda today. Tom Burns will present the rail crossing elimination program on today's agenda. And project number 1.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I am torn by what I'm about to say.
Okay.
It happens ever so often.
Right.
This entire agenda, not item 1, not item 2, but item 3. I cannot sit here in good conscience and participate. I must recuse myself. And I'm torn by that. It hurts me to say that. And with that, I'm going to step out and you can carry on.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, if you will turn to page 23 of your packets, you will see a blanket amendment to our state rail plan that Tim's going to explain to you in a minute, but we wanted to give you just a little bit more of an overview also on the grade crossing elimination program, the railroad crossing elimination program that FOA is doing. So this is a program that it's $573 million. The NOFO went out on July 6th. And so there's a lot of money out there for grade separations. It is focused primarily on grade separations and grade crossing closures, but you can also do a couple other different things with it, namely corridor projects. So if you also have a project out there that is a corridor safety improvement project, that's something that's eligible for that. And, you know, one of the, just a couple highlights of it, it also doesn't have any direct railroad eligibility, so we are one of the partners out there looking for anybody out there who might have these sorts of projects in the future. It's a 5-year program. They've got that locked in, so they're very happy to be proactive and say, hey, get in our program, do all this kind of stuff. So next year, probably, right around July, we're going to be looking for more projects. So that's kind of a brief overview of the project. But yeah, I'll give it over to Tim now. He can talk a little bit more about the state rail plan amendments, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, as Tom said, we're on page 23. This is the resolution to amend the state rail plan to add projects to Appendix C of the state rail plan, kind of a mouthful. So just in general, the context that we're looking at here, we have a number of projects going on throughout the state that ORDC is not sponsoring, but supporting either with some technical assistance or draft reviews. But when we're looking at the notice of funding opportunity, one of the technical merits that they're looking at when they're evaluating the application is this project included in a statewide planning document? So they give a few examples. One of them is the State Rail Plan. So back in 2019, the FRA approved our State Rail Plan update, and as a part of the State Rail Plan update, we gave them a long list of projects. It's called the Rail Service and Investment Program. The idea is that these were intended to be projects that we went to stakeholders throughout the state, MPOs, railroads, port authorities, and kind of came up with a big project list that met ORDC's goals and objectives. Specifically for our rail plan, it was intended to be a well of projects that we could go to when federal grant opportunities like this grade crossing elimination program, when they came up. Now we have a few projects, various parts of the state that back in 2019 were either really conceptual or weren't fully developed, so they didn't end up on that Rail Service Investment Program. Now that there is this grant program available, this is kind of our opportunity to amend the state rail plan and ensure that that technical merit checkbox can be checked for our partners across the state. So that's just a kind of brief, context setting. Happy to answer any questions about this resolution, but
Mr. Chairman, if I might add.
yeah.
First, to give Tim credit, he went through all the statewide documents and provided kind of a summary of where rate separations fit in and were supported. So we've provided that to everyone on this list so that they can include that in their application. The other aspect of this is that some of these communities have asked us for support letters, and so our idea is, assuming this resolution is approved, we would return the support letter with the resolution so that they would have that as documentation for their applications.
Right.
So just kudos to Tim for doing all that legwork.
Right. Yep. And I guess to Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, just to add on to that a little bit, all of our planning documents, the state rail plan, our state action plan, which was concerned with grade crossing safety, the state freight plan that ODOT just completed, they all point to kind of the same thing about grade separations, is that they completely eliminate crossing safety risks. They can help improve emergency response times. They can help improve traffic delays. Whichever document you look at, it's construction of grade separations is it's a strategic goal for the state. So that's consistent kind of between all those plans. So this is really just to set it in stone, that ORDC supports these grant applications, and they're part of our planning document.
Any questions from members of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, this is just to add these specific projects to the state rail plan or the concept of grade separation.
Commissioner Lozier, I think the idea is the grade separation concept itself is already kind of discussed as a strategic goal for the state, but the question that the notice of funding opportunity is asking is this project specifically listed? So beyond just the kind of conceptual grade separations are great, this is kind of taking that additional step and saying this project is specifically listed through the resolution.
Any other questions? Thank you. Let's move on for a motion to approve Resolution 22-07. Is there a motion to?
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Lozier makes a motion. Is there a second? Second. Commissioner Richter with a second. Is there any discussion? Mayor, would you please take the roll?
Commissioner Beal, Commissioner Durger Roberts, Commissioner Jackson is recused, Commissioner Lampy,
Yes.
Commissioner Lozier,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner Richter,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zitter,
Yes.
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 Mr. Chairman, we have 7 affirmative votes, so the motion is approved.
Thank you. Move on to the next project. Tom?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, if you turn to page 25, you will see our specific railroad crossing elimination program project that we have are working on in-house. It is in the city of Fostoria Town Street, and you can see this kind of map up here. I'm going to walk over here because we'll tell you a little bit about this project. This is essentially a grade separation here at Town Street, and these 2 crossings plus the Town Street at a minimum will be closed. I'm going to walk over here and do it with you guys too. This is, a grade separation. This is the 2 crossings that we closed. And what you can see is based on all of this, this little neighborhood on this east side of Fostoria is sometimes totally blocked off. And you can see the rail lines on every side. Sometimes it's totally blocked off from getting access into it. And so it has been a known problem in the city of Fostoria for years. Forward due to funding constraints, capacity constraints, and that sort of thing. But this is exactly what we think this program is for. That the program talks about is reconnecting communities. That's a big one that we kind of talk about that says, hey, this is clearly something that is reconnecting this community, infrequently, but way too frequently. That community is cut off from everything. It's got some wonderful benefits. Tim kind of touched on what the high level stuff is, but we've got, we've got fire, we've got police, people talking about how it impacts the response times. We've got residents in the area who we know have to get the jobs, have to get to appointments, do all that kind of stuff that they sometimes can't do that when they have those blockages. And when we create that grade separation, they'll always have a way in and out of their neighborhood. This is also a great project on the safety side. Like we talked about, we're going to get at least 3 grade crossing closures out of it. So I think that's really nice. And, when I say a minimum of 3 grade crossing closures, one of the things that you don't see necessarily pinned down exactly yet is what the cost share looks like and that sort of thing. We're going to be working up right until October 11th to try and figure out exactly what that looks like. There's the potential for additional closures. There's the potential for additional funding to come from the railroads in that case. As soon as we figure that out, we're going to see what we can make work with that project. But yeah, it is a fantastic project. This one we think fits perfectly into the RGCE program. I gotta get better at that. Program ain't going anywhere. So we think this is a fantastic project. We're really excited about it. It's due on October 11th. It was originally due on the 4th. They extended that an extra week, so we're going to take every advantage of that to make certain that this is the best application we can possibly submit. And so yeah, at this point, I will open it up to questions.
Any questions from members of the commission? Tom, I have one. What do you anticipate the potential? I mean, is there any sort of baseline funding that the commission might have to put up? Do you have any guesstimate on what that might be?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think we've talked about potentially a $1.1 million swap. We basically behind the scenes, we're going to find $1.1 million to put into this at our own. We've got a variety of different ways depending on how things work out.
Yep.
And with inflation and all those kind of things, we may have some funding that we keep, almost as a contingency.
Yep.
But we have a lot of different places that might come from based on the different potential future crossing closures based on what we're looking at and all those kind of things. So we want to make certain that we have the most competitive application we have, but we also have some ammo left back too to make certain that if there are any costs, we have seen that in some of our Christie grants. Where inflation has impacted them slightly. The railroads have picked up that tab so far. But with this one, we want to make certain we get it all right. So that's pretty much where we're at. And as normal, as is noted in the briefing, Mr. Chairman, is if and when we do go for a funding amount for that, we'll be back in front of the
Okay, that was my next
to get
question.
approval for that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's our standard procedure with all of these. We'll give you the informational one, and then when we come back to funding, we'll get there.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Just one thing to add. This is a big collaboration. ODOT District 2 has agreed to, they will administer the project if awarded. So this is
Oh,
not,
okay.
so that's a big,
Mm-hmm.
the reason why I mention that is this is a new program, so what we try to do, and to Tom's credit, we've tried to eliminate all of the risk out of this. And in the application list, how many grade separations ODOT has performed. I think it's over $300 million worth of grade separations.
I was 325 and like 25, 30 grade separations. It's a good chunk.
So ODOT has stepped up and said, district has said, if this is awarded, we will administer this project. So it truly is a partnership, and I think we kind of trying to put our best foot forward on every front.
Yeah, it's especially with that, it's fundamentally a roadway project, and initially when we were looking at this, we were kind of confused as to how we're gonna do it. It's like, oh, well, we got people who do this every day, we appreciate it, why don't we go talk to our district partners? So, we definitely appreciate the help that ODOT's gonna give us, if and hopefully when we win the project.
Great. Any other questions?
I just might mention, for years, I took freight trains through Falls Story and locked a lot of crossings in those days, but now in a different capacity, I use 23 from time to time and drive through Falls Story, and it's a wonderful event to not get blocked by any railroad crossings there.
Yeah, so,
At that point, there is progress. There are about 4 other crossings through through rural Ohio there that will be, the arguments for 23, aren't getting a lot of attention these days from some quarters. But to have great separations at each one of those crossings, I think would, be a marvelous impact on the economic development of the region.
definitely, yeah, Representative Sheehy, yeah, thanks for that. And, like I said at the beginning, when we were talking about the program, this is a 5-year program, so we've got more time to kind of continue to hit at this. So, I mean, as, and not to get, we are trying to be proactive, it's something that came out of a policy committee meeting earlier. If you guys have ideas for more projects that are coming up, we know we're gonna have another notice of funding bill coming up, and then, 4 coming up in the next 4 years. So, get in touch with us. That's what we're trying to look for. We wanna make certain that we, as Ohio, as a state, can take as much advantage of this as we can. So, any ideas, we're always out there looking. We're happy to investigate those.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 22-08?
So moved.
Commissioner Ryan, a second? Yes. Commissioner Zitter with a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Megan, would you please take the roll?
Commissioner Beal, Commissioner Durga Roberts, Commissioner Jackson is recused, Commissioner Lampy,
Yes.
Commissioner Lozier,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner Richter,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes.
Commissioner Zitter,
Yes.
Chairman Corbett.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, we have 7 affirmative votes, so the motion is approved.
Thank you, Megan. Project briefings. We have 3 projects on today's agenda. Tom, proceed.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. If you will turn to page 29 of your briefings, you will see the briefing for the South Point and Ohio Railroads, a little bit of rehab in their yard so that they can set up a plastics transload. And I think Jason Kester from the railroad is on the line. We've worked with Jason in a variety of different ways. He is now with Agricel, the owner of the South Point and Ohio Railroad. He's going to tell you a little bit about the project. Take it away, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Commission, for taking a minute to hear about our project. This project came about, I used to be the Economic Development Director in Scioto County. This is in Lawrence County, so we kind of knew about this site and worked with Lawrence County to acquire their rail assets to try to get some economic development going there in South Point near Ironton. Our firm came in, acquired this. We were able to work with Pure Cycle. That's an economic development project that's right on the Scioto Lawrence County line, both in getting some rail activity into this area, as well as helping them with their new facility in the southeast, actually. But Pure Cycle is going to come in and actually do some rail car storage. We're talking about doing some transloading with them, going from car to truck. There's actually, if you can zoom in, there's actually on the map, if you look, you can actually kind of see there's a little transload pad, and there's actually a container lift pad. We're going to use both of those for that operation. The project itself, the rail in the South Point Industrial Park and the point dates from there's rail in there from, pre-World War I through new steel ties and new steel track that the local economic development group put in right before we came in. So it's kind of a mixed bag. We've been doing some tie replacements, some track replacements, some general maintenance and upkeep. And this will actually help us build out the capacity to keep helping Pure Cycle grow there in Southern Ohio. We're also talking with Norfolk and Southern on doing some oil storage and oil transload, as directly across the river to the south is actually Marathon Oil's barge headquarters for their whole river fleet. So there's some opportunity to partner there and do some oil and things like that out of that and onto rail. So as you see there, the budget is up. We're hopefully going to receive $50,000 from this grant project. We're going to leverage that with $60,000 of our own money, and then the local economic development entity is leveraging $50,000 of their funds. With that, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. I know there it says, talking in the narrative, yeah, there are a number of other businesses, Engines Inc., and a couple others that we're talking to, trying to get some steel back on from one of the tenants there in the park, is off the road and back onto rail, going from South Point up to Marion. But overall, good project, just trying to help us build out the capacity in the park.
Any questions? Hearing none. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to the next
Thanks,
project. Tom.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, if you will turn to page 32 of your packets, you will see the project for Orbis, which is a nice little project on the West Central Ohio Port Authority owned rail line up there. I will turn it over at this point to Lynn Hedegaard from Orbis to talk a little bit about the project and why it's so great. Anyway, take it away, Lynn.
Orbis, I'd like to thank you guys for taking the opportunity to hear a little bit about our project and for your support of it. So a little bit about Orbis. Orbis Corporation is a manufacturer of reusable packaging, really for sustainable supply chains. We are owned by a company by the name of Menasha Corporation, which is a Wisconsin-based company that dates its roots all the way back to 1849, still privately owned by the original family. We've got about 6,500 employees in 120 locations. Orbis is a subsidiary, as I mentioned. Orbis is also a Wisconsin-based company located out of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, which is a suburb of the Milwaukee area. Many of the products and services that we offer are, as I mentioned, reusable packaging. So if you can imagine things like dairy crates and plastic pallets, bulk containers, distribution containers for people like Amazon and Coca-Cola, those types of things are the types of products that we make. Our key customer bases are anybody that you can imagine, Fortune 500 type of companies. Some of our industrial and automotive type of customers are people like Ford, Chrysler, Toyota, BMW. SpaceX is a customer, Tesla, etc. On our retail supply chain side, we work with a lot of brand name companies like Procter & Gamble, Amazon, Walgreens, Rite Aid, CVS, Anheuser-Busch, a lot of the different grocers, that sort of stuff. We've got a manufacturing facility that's located there in Urbana, Ohio, so just north of Springfield. Our Urbana plant is our largest manufacturing plant. Today it's about 144,000 square feet. And then we've got about 700,000 square feet of nearby offsite warehousing that we utilize. We have over 338 employees at that site. And we run 21 different molding machines making the plastic reusable packaging at this facility. Last year alone, we used just shy of 100 million pounds of material, of which about 60% was delivered via rail. 40% is recycled, and in most cases comes in via bulk trucks and common carrier type of situations. But roughly 60 million pounds of material delivered by our Indiana and Ohio Railroad partner. Our project plan is that we are looking to expand the plant by about 50,000 square feet. In order to do that, we are also going to be needing to add a second rail spur to the property. Today, we've got two spurs, one that runs down the western side of the property, and that is active. Typically, we have 6 cars on that at any given time, and that is the maximum capacity of that spur. There's a legacy spur that runs down the east side of our property that hasn't been used in more than 10 years. And that's really what what our project is that we're sharing with you today, is to request support for rehabbing that spur and being able to use that again. We anticipate that our demand or our consumption of plastic resin is going to increase by roughly 50% by the addition that we're putting on this plant. And as such, again, most of that, a good portion of that resin will be supplied by rail service. What that means is we do anticipate that in year 1, we will likely need an additional 50 cars loads of material delivered. And within a year or 2, we'll be up to 150 additional car loads per year. The project itself is going to increase our headcount by roughly 46 positions. That's over $4 million of payroll to the local community. And our expansion project, we are utilizing primarily Ohio-based construction companies and support entities. So our general contractor is Humble Construction out of Bellefontaine. We've been using Verdantis for our civil engineering work out of Columbus, and Fritz Rumer Cook is going to be the contractor of choice for us to service this rail spur. So with that, I'll pause and ask if anyone has any questions.
Any questions from members of the commission? Hearing none, thank you for your presentation. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Lynn. We'll be in touch.
We'll move on to our next project, and Megan.
Mr. Chairman, this contract is on page 35 of today's meeting packet, and this is a little bit of an unusual item compared to what you all usually see, because it is a contract and not a project. But because of the dollar amount, we are required to bring it before the commission. This is a task order contract for us to work with Cambridge Mathematics to have them prepare benefit costs and other quantitative analysis of potential federal grant application projects. This is something that, I think Tom mentioned, we're trying to be proactive in identifying projects. We're also trying to be proactive in being ready to apply. And so having this contract in place will let us go forward with benefit cost analyses as soon as we have a project, rather than needing to go through a procurement process within that 90-day application window that we get from the federal government. So we'll have this contract in place. It is a task order contract up to $150,000, so we will only spend based on the tasks that we assign. We've actually assigned one contract or one project already, well under the $150,000. And we've gotten great work. We've got great benefits to be able to incorporate into the Fostoria grade separation application. So we expect that Cambridge will do great work. We selected them through ODOT's programmatic process, so it was a competitive process. We were able to review the qualifications of a number of firms and selected Cambridge. So I can answer any questions.
You answered the one I would have asked about the competitive process, so that's good to know that you've walked through that with that.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Megan. Appreciate that. We'll move on to committee reports. Commissioner Jackson, would you please present the report from the administrative committee?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be delighted to do so. So our administration committee, we talked about 3 major items this morning. One had to do with state-owned rail line. We talked a little bit about jobs and car loading. And then we had a really good, I think, robust discussion about, it might be in the best interest of the committee to talk to the broader commission about some of the things we are doing with respect to the state-owned lines. And so I'd like to ask if Megan and also Bobby could just add a little bit more color to the discussion, because I thought it was very robust this morning. Oh, yes, thank you. And if you would pass that out to the group, I think you'll find this to be very insightful.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start while Bobby's handing out
Yep.
the documents that were prepared. And complete credit for both goes to Bobby on the inventory of state-owned lines and to Sarah for the map that accompanies it. But we prepared for the committee an overview of the state-owned rail properties, primarily as background information, because we do occasionally have transactions that need to come before the committee and the commission. And so we really wanted to just provide kind of a 101 of state-owned properties. And so during the course of the conversation, the committee talked about what the terms of the leases are in terms of payments and monitoring. We talked about what rail opportunities or lack thereof are present along some of those lines, and then we kind of gave an overview of operations. So I don't know if you want to go into more specifics, if you want Bobby to talk about any of the particular properties, or?
I think that's a great overview. Bobby, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, it's a lot of information, so I'd encourage you to look over it, and, at a future meeting, commissioners would be glad to answer more questions. It is a lot of information to digest. I encourage you to look at it, look at all of the lines, and they're all in order,
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, I was very pleased with the questions that the commission members had.
The NDW is a 58-mile rail line that connects the regional economy of Ohio and Indiana to the national rail network, including industries in food manufacturing, automotive, construction materials, agriculture. These are all industries that rely on the Napoleon Defiance and Western, rely on rail service, but have been hamstrung over the years by poor track condition.
The NDW means a lot to Campbell Soup Napoleon. They provide transportation for our tomato paste from California through to Napoleon, Ohio. It saves us a lot of time and money versus going over the road.
Years of deferred maintenance prior to our ownership have caused this railroad to fall into fairly significant disrepair, earning it its distinction of being the worst railroad in America. Immediately after taking ownership of the railroad, we committed to turning it around. The guys that operate the railroad here have been up against it every single day to make sure that the industries in the area are served. We wanted to make it not only a safe railroad, but we also understood, and the community understood, the value that it provides to the local economy.
This project means a lot for us in terms of having efficient, timely deliveries of our cars into the unloading facility. And it also opens up a lot more future opportunities to move a lot more materials by rail that right now we have not ventured into.
There are a number of businesses that are poised to grow and expand within the region, and now they can do it with a safe, efficient, and reliable railroad partner.
The great thing about working with Pioneer is that this has been a railroad that's needed a lot of investment for a long time. Every railroader, every state DOT knows that there's these railroads that are just, they can be so much more for the local economy than they are right now. And Pioneer brought the professionalism, the expertise, and the financial resources to allow us to form this partnership to make this project possible. A lot of times these projects end up being kind of a base project that we can build on for the future.
and do those incremental improvements that are needed to move goods in Ohio.
We create jobs, we bring investment and tax base to communities. We do that in an environmentally friendly way. Find Your Lines is focused on growing our business and our relevance to industry by utilizing our expertise in rail, industrial development, real estate, bringing our value to communities, bringing communities to the railroad, providing access to the national rail network throughout the United States.
So yeah, this is, again, really exciting to us. You can see exactly how striking it is between, when we first initially started the project and when we first, when I started, 10, 15 years ago, it's looked roughly the same. So this is the first real significant investment that we've had an opportunity to have get into that line. And you can definitely see, it is vastly different than it was previously. So that's really exciting. I don't know if we got Jamie back. Hey, Jamie, if you're back, you can take it away. We just watched the video and loved it.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, and apologies. I think as soon as the video came up, my audio was cut to the room. But no, good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. We are so excited about this project and very excited about the transformation of this railroad. And we certainly recognize that you often just see the front end of these projects. So it was important for us to be able to put together a product that allowed us to show just how transformational the project truly was. So glad that you were able to take a look at it. This without a question would not have been possible without you and the ORDC team. You guys have just been absolutely fabulous to work with, and we're just so thankful for the partnership that we have with all of you. I know we just saw the video and this recapped it already, but I do want us just to rewind quickly to 2020. When our group first sat down with all of you to talk about the NDW. Many of you will probably recall the state that it was in, just 2 years ago. It had suffered from years and years of deferred maintenance. There were derailments, multiple derailments on a single run. We often had our crew walk with the trains for safety reasons. And it was known, not just in Ohio, but across the U.S. as one of the worst railroads in America. By all, purposes, it was really on the brink of abandonment. So when our leadership team at the time had came on board and looked at the NDW, they were faced with a decision, and the decision was, do we simply abandon this line and refocus our resources and our time towards other assets across the U.S., or do we reinvest in this railroad? You heard from Alex in the video that they certainly saw the potential of this railroad and the value that it serves to the community. And so with your support, we chose to reinvest. So together we applied for and won the Chrissy grant. And then once that grant was underway and we saw the rehab on the horizon, our commercial team was able to get to work and start to really market the railroad and attract new business to the region. And oh man, were they successful. They were good. Before this project was even complete this summer, we were already announcing 2 multi-million-dollar investments on the NDW, one of them a new facility, the other an expansion.
And so really, we see this though, honestly, as we're just scratching the surface. There's more work that we can do. So we certainly just saw this and see this as phase one of the rehabilitation. There's remaining rail to be addressed. So this first phase really, we wanted to take a look at the rail that was in the worst shape. But the second phase of this project is really where we see the most business growth and opportunities. So I know Matt alluded to it in his opening comments, and so don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but you likely will be seeing that phase two of this project coming here shortly. So I will pause there. Happy to answer any questions that you guys have, but really more than anything, just wanted to, thank you again for all your support and the great work of the commission.
Thank you. Very good. Any questions, comments? That video was really well done.
It would be really nice if we had a video like that about every project.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, right.
I think the taxpayers of this great state would really appreciate it. This is where your hard-earned dollars is, and this is what we're getting in return. We can say it, we can write it, but boy, when you show something like that, that's pretty powerful. So I appreciate that.
Representative Sheehy, what would you think from a General Assembly perspective?
I totally agree.
So, and Matt,
I know having gone, working on some of those facilities between Toledo and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Then when NAFTA came along, a lot of those, Abitibi, some of those little places down south of Lima and Dayton actually kind of shut their doors. There were those arteries that fed into that, and it did great things for the Ohio economy. So that's great news.
Yeah.
I wonder if, Matt, if you need an agent, for.
I don't need an agent, so I've gotten an immense amount of grief after that.
Get your screen actors deal.
So I appreciate that, Representative.
So we'll now move on to the public comment portion. Thank you, Tom. Move on now to the public comment portion of our meeting. Mike, would you please give instructions for members of the public and how they would like to comment?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Corbett. We'll now have discussion of questions and comments. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel, or you may click the hand icon to raise your hand, and please state your name before providing your question or comment. So looking at the questions box at the moment, we do not have any questions at this time. And nothing is arriving.
Okay. Yes. There's no public comments to be made. This will conclude today's agenda. Thank you again to Mike and ODOT for your help today with the meeting. And with no further business to come before the commission, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.